Hey guys, I'm Ryan Lai, and none of this is scripted. I thought this would be a good opportunity to show you guys some of what I'm doing in terms of background design for our upcoming anime web series, TAKESHI, a dark superhero story that's coming within the next year. And right now we're currently in the middle of development, and I'm working on a background design for our fully animated trailer. And as you can see, from what I started off with, it was extremely rough. But eventually, when you nailed it down a little bit more, so you can do some really good line work. Of course, you have to also take into account some of the perspective. So if you actually look at the perspective, it's pretty simple. It's mostly just a one-point perspective, right? Because you're not really getting much of the second part. You're just getting this view down this way down here. And just to give you guys a little bit of context behind this part in the story. See, that's a little bit more development along the way. This was actually a slum design I've been working on for the trailer scene. And the slums are where one of our main characters resides. And it's a very nitty-gritty, dark, really, it's a very terrifying place, so to speak. And there's a lot of things that went into development for this, and what we had originally was, and this is the scene. This is the scene that we were doing. There's a truck scene where it moves down the area, and when you're actually seeing it in camera, it looks like this. See that? See it going down, and we have to keep the image size large in order to make sure that we don't lose too much resolution when we're actually following the truck as it's going down. See that? So this is really this is mostly for this is for animation, definitely for animation. But if you actually look at this and you look at the values, it looks pretty bad, right? This doesn't look like anything you would use in a production. So what we're gonna have to do is we're gonna have to reduce the opacity of the lines. And eventually, we're gonna have to take out all the lines, and we're gonna end up with something similar to this. But right now, that shadowing is what the final product will look like once we're done with all the shading. And we haven't done all the shading yet. With some backlighting back there, but we haven't done all the shading for this. So we're gonna keep the line work on, and we're gonna start putting everything in. So let's move this. See that? That should be a little better. Let's see where we are. We have our skyline there. Let's move that up. You should be able to see the buildings. Oh, really? That's not... Oh, okay. Never mind. We'll keep that in a separate layer. That'll be okay. All right. And yeah, we'll call us the back buildings. Back buildings. Shadow, not shading. That gives us the wrong impression. So we'll do that. See that? And when you combine it with the shadowing, it makes it pop out more. It makes it feel more alive. But instead of doing that with the shadows, we have to make sure it looks good first, tonally. So we're gonna work on that. So now that we have our basic values, see that, and our perspective work done, let's try to get in our general shading layer. So let's add this on top. Let's call it a general shading layer. And let's start adding in. So we can go fairly rough. I'll show you some of my technique. I learned this technique from a Disney and DreamWorks visual development artist. And it's pretty simple. All you do is use the lasso tool. And right now I'm holding Alt, and I'm holding Alt to do the straight lines that you're seeing right now. But in terms of adding, you can hold Shift in the lasso tool. See, look, I'm gonna hold Shift, and you can get that, and then you just do that, hold Alt, and then you can do a straight line. See that? Very, very good way to save you some time when it comes to doing this. So check it out. See that? Now we have all that. So if we want to do this in one go, I'm gonna have this set to 100. This will be our general shadow block right here. See that? And we'll go in. Let's see how it looks. It's not bad, right? Could be a little better. Just make sure you get what you're going for in terms of your vision for your background. Maybe it's really dark, maybe it's not, but that works just fine. Let's move on to the next one down here, and we'll keep it in one layer because we want this all to be representative of what's inside the building. So watch this. Same thing, we're gonna do the same thing. It's just a bunch of the same thing. And it's okay if you can go over it. We can go over this. See that? Yep, and do that. Because we can always erase it later. I'll show you how to do that without permanently erasing it. It's very simple. It's much simpler than you would imagine. So check it out. We're gonna do that, and then we'll go move here, add another one. Oops, careful. Let's be careful. And the reason why I do the gradient style is because it makes it much easier if you ever want to edit the shadows or whatever color you're doing. You can do it very simply, and I'll show you why. Check this out. So we're gonna do the same thing. See that? And maybe it's probably gonna be pretty dark because we're coming into basically this abandoned building. So it's gonna be pretty dark, but maybe not too dark. Yeah, sometimes you just gotta go with the flow of it. So check, oh, that didn't look too bad. Let's see. Cause, yeah, you would get naturally darker the farther you go in. That's okay, and then maybe we'll give it a little bit here. That's too dark. That's fine, well, we'll stay with that. But see this? Watch this. I'm gonna hold Control, and I'm gonna click this layer, and see? If we ever wanna come back and edit it, we can come back and edit anytime. And if you wanna take something away from it, you click this mask tool right here. You see my cursor, you click that, and you get a mask. Go back to your brush. Maybe you can do a soft brush, and maybe you wanna erase some of the shadowing here, right? Because that doesn't make perfect sense. So you just come in very subtly. Oops, sorry. You come in very subtly. Press Control-Alt-Z if you want to, erase some things. So maybe it's not as realistic as you like it. So you could do something like that, and then come back in. Press X, and you can switch between making it come back. See that? And you can do that, and it comes back much more evenly. See that? It's much nicer, and it feels a little more natural. Because what we're aiming for here is something a little more realistic. Because you don't want to have any of this line work in. See that? Something like that. Maybe add a little bit more back. Take a little away. Again, just a lot of it is also just experimenting, looking at it and saying, I like that, I don't like that. Maybe you take this some away, maybe take that away, maybe give it a little bit of glow here. Just so, yeah. And then, yeah, that's fine. That's good. So we have that. And we'll bring our lines back. See that? And it looks a little more natural now, right? After that, though, we're gonna wanna do something also with that sign. So let's do another layer. You don't have to name every single one of these layers. I mean, that's only if you really want to. And it's not required. It gets a little tedious after a while. But let's say this, since we have a general light source coming in, let's say this is coming like this, right? We know where our light source is coming from, and that's another big thing. You gotta know where your light source is coming from. So my light source is actually coming from up here. It's coming from up here, and you can't see my finger, but you can see the cursor. The light source is coming from up here, and it's hitting downwards. And you can tell from this general shadow I put in, right? The light is genuinely giving us a focal point to where this building is, right here. And that's another thing. You want to make sure you have a focal point. So let's go in with this. And it's not bad. Maybe we can make it a little more subtle. There we go. Maybe a little more subtle. There we go. That's a little better. See that? And the reason I'm using the gradient tool is because it actually generates better values overall. And you'll see what I mean once I actually finish this. If I finish this. I probably won't finish this in one go. One can only hope. And let's see. I'm gonna come to this building right here. We're gonna do the same thing. It's a lot of the same thing, guys. Surprisingly, right? Or unsurprisingly. And check this out. And a lot of the reason we do this is to actually keep the frame really clean and to be able to come back and mess with it any way we want to, right? So maybe it's like that. Maybe it gets really dark in the alleyway, right? So between these buildings, maybe it gets very dark. Because maybe, maybe there's a little bit of a value up there, see that? And it gets darker the darker down we go because there's light coming in from above instead of, coming from below, because light doesn't come from below, it comes from above. And let's see. Yeah, that looks decent. That looks alright. Let's do another layer for so let's do some more buildings. See this? Alright, and we're gonna come here, same thing. We're just getting our main buildings right now. We can worry about the small items and other things later. Right now we want to focus on getting our main things across. And if you want to add to it again, when you're in the lasso tool, just hold shift and you can add it freely. Freehand, see ya? It works very nicely. It works very, very nicely. And you can rotate if you're at a weird angle. Press R and you can rotate. And again, the program I'm using, I should have said this before, the program I'm using is Photoshop. And it's a great design program. And you can even animate in it, surprisingly. But don't expect it to be the best animation program, because this is mostly for designing. And okay, and we're gonna do the same thing here. See this? And we'll maybe not that dark. Ooh. Go back to our gradient tool. And there we go. Something like that. Maybe it's a little too dark. A little too dark? Let's try again. There we go. That looks decent. Hang on. Maybe we can come in like this because we have more. We have a roof here. Let's get a general. Let's get a general shadow. Yeah, that's fine. We'll come back later. That's fine. So we have that set up. And we'll come in here because we gotta make sure we account for all the spaces that have shadows. So check this out. We're gonna come here. Come in. And yeah, there we go. Right now, all we're worrying about right now is our buildings. And for this tutorial, let's say, I'm gonna help you out in terms of getting overall value in your work out. So you can do that. And it's gonna be pretty dark. Realistically, it's gonna be pretty dark, but not that dark. Let's make it dark, but not too dark. Because we don't want to draw focus away from here. Because if you go back, yeah, see that? That draws away too much focus. Now we can do that. And that's a little better. We can even add some light to come in there later. See that? Not bad, right? But let's keep going. We need to add more value. And you know what? This telephone pole here is giving me some interesting vibes. So let's go into that so we can just get our overall thing across. And make sure it's cleaned up. That's not a good one. Make sure it's clean. You gotta make sure the line is very clean. See that? And we'll come in, move down, go up again. Remember, I'm holding Alt to do the straight line for the lasso tool. And the reason I don't paint a lot of freehand is because I find it to be very inaccurate. And if you ever want to come back and edit the drawing later, it's extremely difficult because you're doing everything in a very unorganized fashion. Versus this is like extremely organized. You can literally come back and mess with it anytime you want to. Like I'm doing it right now. And the great thing about it is if you press Control on any layer, you can see what's there and you can edit it very cleanly without having to worry about all the little nooks and crannies you missed. And the point is to not miss the nooks and crannies. So let's move in. Just be as accurate as you can. And it is a little, I will admit, it's a little tedious at first, But actually, once you get used to it, you're going to find out that the benefits to it are so much higher than if you were not using it at all. So that's, yeah, maybe it's not that dark. There, yeah, maybe a little more subtle like that. See that? That's a little better. We can do the same thing for the other items down here, but let's go with this first. And I missed something here. See this? See that? We need to add something for the columns here, for this abandoned building. See this? So we're gonna come back here, do the same thing. It's a lot of the same thing when it comes to this stage. And here we go. So I learned this technique from a really amazing art teacher I had at Cal State Northridge, and she was a visual development artist and an art director at Disney and DreamWorks. I think she was doing Disney at the time. She was at the same time working for Disney, and she had the kindness to come teach us at the same time, which is really awesome. And a lot of her techniques stuck. Like, they really stuck. Like, you were constantly under pressure in that class. But the great thing is that you were surrounded by really great people at the same time. There were so many talented people, and I was like the one guy in class who was like not talented at all. I was the guy who wished he was talented. So I had to work like, I don't know, I had to work really hard just to be able to like meet their level. Even today, I'm not even sure if I could ever meet their level. But I don't give up easily, so that helps. But am I as good as those people who were in that class? Probably not. It'd be nice if I had the natural talent. I've never had the natural talent when it came to art at all. It all comes down to just hours and hours and hours of just doing stuff like this. And you don't get a lot of sleep, I'll tell you that much. Especially when you're thinking about stuff like this. See, that's nice, that's subtle. And we'll come in again. See, what we're doing is we're gradually building up. We're gradually building up our scene here. And we're just trying to be as accurate as we can. It doesn't have to be completely accurate, but it should be close. Here we go. Yeah, wow, the people in that class, the visual development class at Cal State Northridge, I recommend it for everyone. The people there are amazingly talented. And it draws in the very fine art people. And it's a good way to not really compete with your fellow classmates, but to learn from them, because they have so many useful tips for you. I remember one really cool friend of mine, Wei. He came to me when I was in the middle of designing this cute little background scene for a little cockroach character I was doing, and it was coming together fine. You know, I was in the middle of the sketch phase, and he caught me and he said, "Hey, dude, your perspective is completely off." And I didn't understand what he meant at the time until he actually sat down and he showed me, and I was like, oh man, I'm such an idiot. How did I miss that? And I'm sorry guys, we're gonna have to go back. We're gonna have to edit this. See that little white space? That's why we gotta be accurate. But that's did we miss anything here? Maybe a little bit. We can come back for this one too. That's fine. See that? We gotta be at least a little accurate, right? And yes, I am gonna make mistakes along the way, just like I did there. But don't worry, this is easy to fix. It's very easy to fix. And the great thing about the gradient tool is you don't spend a lot of time, you know, painting the values. You can just go in with the values like that, see? And boom, you're there. But yeah, Wei came to me and he told me, dude, your perspective is off. And he showed me, and it blew my mind. And I realized I didn't know a thing about perspective. And I had to spend years trying to learn more and more about it. And I'm still learning every day. Maybe it's better. I'll go in one swoop. I'll go in one fell swoop. And it might be more challenging, but I'm up for the challenge. We'll just go over. See ya? We'll go over our stuff just to make sure we didn't miss anything. Yep. Same thing here. We're adding more. And this process does take a while. I'm not gonna lie to you guys. This process does take a while. but you're gonna find out that it looks really, really good once you're actually done with it. Because even if you're not satisfied with what you have currently, you can always build up on it. And this is the great thing about the gradient tool. You can always build on it. See that? That's a little nicer, right? Things are starting to come together on this side of the field. And only that side of the field. We'll worry about the separate objects later. Let's move on to our house here. See that? Well, let's add another layer. And yeah, make sure you're working in different layers, just so you know, like, oh, this is here, that's there, yada yada. And yeah, we can come in rough. It's okay. We'll come in rough, and I'll show you how to correct it. Come up with the line here, and at least that will be accurate. Let's take this away. Yeah. Remember, you can hold Alt like this. You can hold Alt like this to take away with your lasso tool, and it will be much more accurate. Just make sure you take your time. A lot of the time in the studio, you can't take your time. Like, sometimes you have to do it in 2 hours, which is freaking crazy. I wish I was that good. I'm not that good, but it's okay. You guys are learning along with me at the moment. And every day, we'll take it one day at a time. But this is exciting. I mean, this is for my dream project. And it's coming together very nicely. All the character designs for the TAKESHI trailer are done. Right now, we are in the middle of the background phase. And if things go well, we'll have another background artist coming in soon. Most likely after this Sunday. And we may have a couple more coming in, depending on whether or not they can, pass a test. We had to install a test measure to make sure people could draw on our style, which is normal for most small studios or large studios. They just wanted to know, they want to know if you can do what they do. And usually, that means putting you on spot. But they're not, they're not going to be, mean about it. They're going to give you like a week or 2 weeks to do your test. A lot of my storyboard tests I did for Film Roman or Nickelodeon, they usually gave you 2 weeks. And it wasn't an extremely long scene. It was usually like, oh, do this action scene, or oh, do this dialogue scene. Could you do this action scene and this dialogue scene? And those are fun. Like, I remember I did some tests for Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, and I did some tests for, Ultimate Spider-Man. And they were both super fun. I had a great time. I didn't get the job, but I had a great time doing it. And you know what? I don't think I was terrible. I just wasn't what they were looking for, I guess. And you'll have directors telling like, yeah, your style is, it's not close enough, Sorry, man. Maybe next time or something. And they're usually super nice about it. And yeah, I mean, that's the whole point of the test, just to make sure people can fit with your team personality-wise and style-wise. Because it makes a big difference overall. See that? It took a little while, but we got what we were looking for. See that? And if you zoom out, you'll be able to get a better idea of what you're aiming for when it comes to this shadowing layer. It should be a little lighter. Not too dark. Yeah. Because remember, this is not below. This is above. Okay. No. Again. There we go. That's subtle enough. There we go. Very subtle. We did all that work for that little subtle piece. And we can come back here. Let's come back to this building we had here, right? This second building. And let's add something on. We're going to go into some little details here now. And I hope this doesn't run on for too long. But if it does, don't worry, guys. I'm here for you. And there we go. And yeah. Maybe not too dark, but dark enough. Yeah, that's fine. And we'll give it a save shadows for later. We'll save shadows for later. Because when it comes to specific shadows, like stuff like this, what I'm going to show you right now, when it comes to stuff like this, you can create your shadows perfectly with your gradient tool. See this? And you get like a much more realistic shadow that way. See that? Yeah, something like that. but maybe just a little bit darker. But that's something we would do on a separate layer, you know. Maybe not that dark. That's only if it was in direct sunlight, right? It's good to have some rendering skills, but yeah, we'll do that one later. We don't have to worry about that one right now. We're worrying about the general shading right now. And let's see. You know what? Let's put it back. Let's do that. I mean, why not? You know, it is part of the building. Let's just not make it too dramatic. Let's make it just a little dramatic. Because remember, this is going to be covered by shadow, and we can come back to look over it again. And yeah, that's not bad. That's not terrible. Maybe we can make it a little less. There we go. There we go. And then come in and yeah, like that. And when we come back later, we can just add some more stuff here, because that looks kind of weird. But don't worry about it for now. We'll come back to it later. And let's see. Yeah, so just a reminder, this is for our trailer, our fully animated trailer for our Japanese superhero story, TAKESHI. And that will be coming, well, we're currently in the middle working on it, but we have the rough boards done, we have the voice work done, we have the character designs done, we're in the middle of the background designs, and we'll move on to storyboards, complete storyboards right after this. And let's move on to the next house. I think we're ready to move on to the next house. Or we could do that poll. Let's do the poll. Yeah, let's do this poll. This is going to be interesting. So check this out. Let's make sure we have what we need. Okay. Oh, maybe we don't need. Maybe we don't need it. That's a tough one. Yeah, let's do it. Let's do it. Okay. This one will be a little more haphazard because we're going to have to do it in separate ways. Because there's shadows because of the object, and when it comes to casting shadows, you're gonna have to think a little differently when it has a lot of different parts to it. So we can come in rough. See that? We'll come in rough, and then we will come in. See that? Very simple. And you don't have to be extremely meticulous with this. Just be as meticulous as you can. Because we're focusing on being clean. Because you can be painterly, but being painterly comes with a huge drawback. It's extremely hard to edit, and it's time consuming, versus this is super easy to edit. Very, very easy to edit. And I'm holding shift right now, so I can get a straight line. See that? Okay. Oh, nope, too much. Yeah, let's come in a little more. Nope. There we go. That's good. Now we can move to this. And we'll do the same thing for those little things. But right now, let's come into this. And we'll do it on a separate layer. Because we don't want to mess with our first one. See that? We'll come across. Okay. And we will come down. See that? And you can do that. That's a little too dark. Let's add in a little bit to this, right? Since we're missing a little bit here. See that? Doesn't have to be perfect, but we'll come in like that. And like here. Yep, and that. So now we can do it. So check this out. That will be decent. That's decent. Let's make it a little less. There we go. This way. Try. Yeah, because all the light's coming from that direction, so that's good. Let's leave it at that. Remember, we're talking about subtlety here. We just want to be subtle. And we're going to come to all these, and we're going to do the same thing. See, it's a little tougher when it comes to individual pieces, because you got to worry about every single individual piece. It's a nightmare if you're trying to do, like, body armor on a character. Like, especially if you're trying to be super detailed. That takes a long time. I know from plenty of experience. Okay. And, ooh, is that on a different layer? Oh, it is on a different layer. Okay, no problem. This is our telephone lines. Let's bring that over. Let's bring that over our general shading. See that? Now we don't have to worry about it. We're just worrying about the power lines there. And we got this, we got that. Okay. let's do the next one. Let's do them all in one layer because we don't want to crowd ourselves with too many layers. So let's do this. Same thing. Doesn't have to be perfect. All right. And we'll do the same thing. And if you're having trouble viewing the overall value of it, go ahead and zoom out, you know? It'll give you a good idea. See that? It's a little better. Next, we'll come in here. Same thing. And don't worry, we'll edit those power lines later. Right now, we're worried about the main picture of this. There we go. Same thing. And yes, I do have experience doing paint release style. In fact, that's how I started off. But this style was something I learned from my awesome visual development teacher at Northridge. And it's saved my butt so many times because sometimes the director says, you know what? I don't like how this came out. Can we change the shadow here? Can we, can we make it a little darker? Can we take the shadow out of this area here or something? And it's so much harder to do if you do it in a paint release style, especially if you do it in one layer. That's a nightmare if you do it in one layer. You don't want to do that because if you have to edit it, you're gonna have to edit the whole thing, and it's gonna take a long time. Versus this, like I literally just did that, you know. And if I want to come back to edit, see, I can just click the layer, control click the layer, and it clicks the layer I made. And I can instantly change it whenever I want to. I can make it darker, I can delete it, I can make a mask for it. It's your call. You can do whatever you want with it. Just do something with it. And okay, so now let's move on to the next building. And we're just doing the same thing, guys. We're just doing the same thing. So check this out. And this will be easier because it's more straight. See that? And we'll come down here. Here. And don't worry about going over certain things because we're gonna have to go over it anyways. And you can always erase. You know? So we'll do that. We'll take away from here. And yeah, that'll be okay. Yeah. Remember, you can always erase. Let's make sure we get everything. Okay, there we go. And that's good enough. That should work. So let's start with our shading. And maybe since this is such a big roof, maybe it's more like that. Maybe it's a little darker. Yeah, maybe it's like yeah, again, just you gotta make sure you eye it a little bit and say like and let's see how it looks with the shadow. Maybe a little too dark, right? You don't want to overdo it. And see that? It's starting to come together more now. And we can worry about the small details later. You just want to make sure you get the general values of everything. See that? It's really important that you do that because well, it's just really important that you do it. That's it. And again, our focal point is right here. This is where we're going to be focusing on. And later on, we can even blur the rest of these buildings. But because the truck is going to be moving down the scene, the whole scene is going to be a little bit blurred anyways. But again, we're doing this because, you know, we want it to look as nice as possible when we're zooming into the scene. Okay, we'll take out some of this shadow. Take out the shadow again. And let's see. Is that what it looks like? Oh, that's okay. That's not a big deal. The shadow will cover most of that. Okay. Cool. Okay, let's move in. Let's move in some more. And you know what? Something here doesn't make sense. See this? See that? Since that column is in front, that wouldn't make any sense. So we're gonna have to completely cover that. See that? Yeah, like that. There we go. Could it? Yeah, well, cover it. It's fine. But see how easy? It's not necessarily easy, but it's definitely much more manageable when you're actually doing it this way. See that? So now we'll come in with another layer. We're gonna do the top of the roof. Go back, turn our line layer back on again. Because again, that line is not gonna be the finished product. It's just our structure. So we're gonna come in. And don't worry about going over the pole. You'll see what I mean in a minute. See that? And we'll come up and just be as accurate as we can. And take away. Do not want this to overlap with this house here. There we go. Yep, that's good. And we'll come here, take away some a little bit. Just want to be as accurate as you can. Before I learned how to do any of this, I took rendering at, believe it or not, Pasadena City College. They have some really fantastic artists there from places like, like from Art Center. PCC actually gets artists from Art Center, which is really amazing, and they're just happy to, teach you, even though they probably don't make as much money compared to when they teach at Art Center. It's just nice to know that Pasadena City College and Art Center have that relationship. And most of my rendering I learned from an amazing rendering artist and a product designer named Stan Kong. Like, totally changed the way I saw painting and rendering in general. And just like my visual development class, I was not the best student. In fact, I was barely getting by. I was very barely getting by. That looks pretty good. And I'll show you what I mean with the pole. We'll come over. Here we go. So this is the pole layer, right? We'll just bring it over. See that? Boom. And you don't have to worry about it. That's the power of layers. See that? It's perfect now. Let's see. Did I do this layer? Let's see. That. Oh, maybe I missed a layer. Okay, guys. No problem. We'll come in with another layer here. See that? This little portion here? We want to make sure we get this. And it's okay, guys. You don't have to be the best. It's nice to be the best, but, it's a very strange thing to think if you're the best or not. Because honestly, I think most people are just struggling to get by when it comes to this kind of job. Hang on. Ooh, is something covering that? Oh, something is covering that. Okay, we'll move that over. See that? There we go. Now we can see it. And let's see. Oops, nope. There we go. And let's make it a little more. Let's make it a little less contrasty. That's perfect. That's good. We'll leave it at that. And we'll do the same thing for the other one. So let's move into the next one. See that right there? We're gonna move here. And we're gonna add another shadow here. And just till we cover this up, we'll cover this up. See it? Okay. And then we'll move in. There we go. That's nice, right? Maybe a little less. That's a little too contrasty. You don't want it too contrasty, otherwise it's gonna stand out more than what you're trying to focus on. Subtlety is key. There we go. That's fine. You'll see it does make a difference. Yeah. Alright. Next one. Gosh, what time are we at? I don't even know. I hope this video isn't too long. I hope I'm not boring you. And we'll move in here. Same thing again. And just come in. Make it subtle. Don't make it too contrasty, otherwise it's gonna stand out too much. And that stands out way too much. Let's do a little more. Yeah, again, you just gotta experiment. There we go. That's let's do a little less. Do a little less. Nope, too much. There we go. That's good. Leave it at that. Next, let's move in here to our windows and our blocky thing here. And another thing you guys should make sure you keep track of is scaling. And what I mean by scaling is, can characters fit into these buildings? So, I mean, let's check it out for a second. I'll show you what I mean. Hang on, let me get this right. Let me first get this right before I go spouting my nonsense. And, let's make it darker. A little darker. Because we want it to stand out at least a little bit. Too dark. There we go, that's fine. We'll leave it at that. And what I mean by scaling is, you see those little characters that are moving down here? What we do is, we just want to make sure that when you're scaling back, look, I'll show you a good example right now. When you see this character right here, I'm gonna Control T for transform. I'm gonna move this dot. You can hold Alt to move that dot wherever you want, and I'm gonna move it, let's say, down here. And now I can scale him back according to perspective, and I can see he's gonna have a good time fitting in most places, right? Back here and there, he's about the same size as everyone else. Going down here, he can get to the store. Going down here, he fits under the bridge, everything. It's just good to do that so you can make sure that realistically your characters can fit in these spaces. And make sure that your scene is going to be able to accommodate a giant vehicle moving down it. I'm surprised the dogs haven't barked. There's dogs behind this house. Okay, now let's move into some more shadowing. And we'll do some shadows on the windows. So check this out. And not too much. Just do a slight amount. Remember, you still want to aim for subtlety. Subtlety is always key. Yeah, something a little bit more like that. Oh, nope. There we go. That's fine. That's good. That works perfectly fine. So that's good. And now we can come to another pole. Oh boy. Okay, here we go. So we'll do the same thing. But you can see it's starting to come together, right? It's like really starting to feel a little bit more alive. Feels like you could almost live there. But not really. Hang on. Get this line. Okay. Okay, that's a little better. Maybe a little too much. Let's go and make sure we get it right. Might have overstepped it a little bit too much. Yeah, just make sure you clean it up, and we'll come down here and we'll add a little more. You can do the same thing. Even zoomed up, you can do the same thing. Add in more space that you want to fill up. Do that. There you go. And now we're gonna do this. Oop, too much. And that's good. That's decent. Yeah, that's totally workable. We can do that. And let's do the same thing here. Oops, sorry. Do the same thing here, under here. And just follow the path as best as you can. That's why you have the line layer. And it makes it a lot easier. There we go. And take away what you can. You don't have to add everything in. Just make sure you're going with the shape of the object. And it's okay to go over the pole, because there's going to be a little bit of shadow over the pole. Alright. And we'll do the same thing we did with the other one. Not that dark. Not that dark either. And a little too dark still. There we go. That's good. Now, let's move into these now. Hang on. Okay. Just keep track of your layers. You can't name everything, otherwise you would have a very hard time getting anything done. And there we go. There we go. We're gonna do the same thing. See? Oops. There we go. I wonder if that's a little too much contrast. Maybe. Yeah, probably is. Just be subtle. Be subtle. No need to go overboard. Unless you really want to go overboard. Maybe that's your point. I do it sometimes too, it's okay. And same thing here. Doing the same thing. Okay, yep. Doesn't have to be perfect, just has to look good. You can aim for perfection, but you'll never reach it. You might reach excellence, though. There you go. Oop. Let's give it a little bit more. Oops. It's all trial and error here. There you go. That's good. And remember, you can edit it anytime you want. You don't have to leave it that way, but that's good enough for now. We're just going for a general feel. And it's gonna make a big difference, trust me. Hang on. There you go. And it's not as tedious once you actually get used to it, obviously. And it's just like with everything. Once you get used to it, it's not that tedious. It's like washing dishes. No, this is actually a lot funner than washing dishes. Washing dishes is boring compared to this. Alright, there we go. And again, this is for our anime web series that we're going to be airing. TAKESHI, a dark superhero story set in Osaka, Japan, and this is a part of the Osaka slums. This is actually based off of Kamigasaki, believe it or not. And there's still a couple things to add in, but overall, it's looking pretty good. It's looking pretty decent. Definitely enough space for a truck to move through. And now that we got that pole done, we can move on. And since we have that little set layer set up, we're gonna put this under it so we can get to this building. See ya? And we're gonna do the same thing we did with everything else. Big shocker, right? Alright, and since these are different surfaces, we're gonna wanna do it in different selections. You'll see what I mean in a second. See that? Now we can add it to it. We can add a little bit to it since we're a little off. See that? A little bit off. Just hold your shift and then hold Alt, and then you can do your line. See that? There you go. And just complete it. There you go. And let's take away a little bit from here. No, actually, you might not have to. Let's do that. Let's do that. It might create a nice little shadow effect. A little too much. Too much. Again, think subtle. Think subtle. You want to be subtle. There we go. That's decent. That will work. That will work just fine. Okay. Now we want to come here. Do the same thing. But remember, just think a little differently when it comes to this one. Think a little differently because we're on a different surface, and the light from that direction is going to be hitting in a different way. That's a little annoying. Hang on. Let me fix this. You don't want the shadow overlapping where it shouldn't be overlapping. And again, you can hold Alt without shift selected, obviously. You can hold Alt and just take away. Take away as much as you can. That's good. And we'll add a little bit here. There we go. That's good. And you can do that. Yep. Yep. There you go. And that's good. And let's add a little bit here. Oops. Sorry. Wrong button. Gradient tool. See that? A little too dark. Still a little too dark. Again, subtlety. That's pretty good. We'll leave it at that. Next, we move on to the actual building. Make a new layer, if you so please. You could all do it in one layer, but it's going to make it more challenging later on. Alright. And it's okay to overlap. It's okay to overlap. When it comes to this, it's okay to overlap. And let's do this. Nah, that's a little too striking. A little too striking. Even though it looks good, it's a little too striking. And remember, there's going to be more sun. There we go. There we go. Maybe a little too much. Remember, you don't want it to be too contrasty down there. You want the contrast mostly down here. So what we're going to have to do down here is we're going to have to darken a little bit. There you go. Yeah, that should do just fine. And remember, the reason we're zoomed out so much is because we're getting a holistic view of everything. We want to make sure everything's going to look good from a distance and close up. And so far, that's actually looking pretty decent. Let's see. Let's see if we can see how the lines. Yeah. Yeah, that's slowly getting there. You can see the difference though, right? If we take away general shading, it's just kind of, you know, it's kind of two-dimensional, but when you give it this, you give it a little bit more value. And what you're going to have to do eventually is you're going to have to take away some of the shadow here. See this? That's why we make masks. For masks, you can take away anytime you want. So let's say, let's say we take away some of the shadow here. And suddenly, and suddenly we have light here. See that? Ooh, lighty. Lighty, lighty. See that? Suddenly we have a little more light here, just to create a little bit more value. And same thing here. Maybe there's more light here. See that? See that? And then it slowly comes together. Slowly comes together. Because eventually you're going to have to blur that shadow, right? Yeah, eventually you're going to have to blur the shadows to make it a little more realistic. You might want to do that down here too, possibly. But that's basically what we're going to be doing at the end result. We're not there yet. So let's bring that back. And if you guys are wondering what setting I'm doing this at, I'm doing this at, in terms of canvas size, it's about 6,000 pixels wide, 3,000 pixels tall. And it's just to do it so you have enough space to work with, and so that when you zoom in, it doesn't get too pixely. See that? You can zoom in pretty far until it gets pixely, but even then, see that? It still looks pretty decent even from that close up. It will probably be about that close up when the car/truck goes down that far. Okay, we have that. Let's keep going. I would give you guys more stories, but I'm trying very hard to focus on what I'm doing. Maybe I'm failing, maybe I'm doing good. I don't know. Okay, let's move on to this one here. And we'll come on to this side later, after we finish this side. So let's come to this side. Let's bring our line layer back. We need that line layers to help us out with getting the values. See that? Okay, now let's come in. Same thing, same thing. Just thinking geometrically. And we can always come in later with that. See that? Yep. Just be as accurate as you can. Be as accurate as you can. Even from a distance. Okay. Let's see. Can we edit anything? Yeah, we can. There we go. Take that. Go this way. There you go. That's good. And come over here. Oops. Come over here. Alright. Oh yeah, I forgot. You can't do that. You have to when you subtract, you can't do a straight line. That sucks. Oh well. Hardware is always going to be limited in some aspect. That's okay. Alright. There we go. And we'll come in over here. Make sure we don't overlap it too much. And we'll subtract a little here. See that? So we can get the tip of the house. Let's check here. That's pretty good. Let's add a little bit more here so we get more of a shape. There you go. Come down here. Oops. Come down here. And then we go up just to make sure we have a good straight line, solid line. There you go. And we'll subtract from here, just so we know that we keep it as straight as possible, because we might have done it at an angle when we did the original lasso. And again, I'm using the lasso and gradient tool to actually give me all of my values, because every single building is going to have a little bit of value when a light hits it. It's never going to be, unless you're going for an extremely harsh tone, it's not going to be an extremely harsh tone. Usually, in real life, it's subtle. It's very subtle in real life. Like that, you know. Maybe, yeah, that's all right. See if you come over. Yeah, that's still pretty good. And then, see, it just gets easier from here. Now we can move in again. Since we have less buildings to take care of, we can just move in again. It's okay to overlap. Move in. There you go. Yep, and that's it. And then, let's see, does that look good? There might be some light coming from there, but usually it's going to be pretty dark. Usually it's going to be pretty dark from the bottom. It always gets darker from the bottom. Alright. And, yeah, it should be a little bit lighter. Let's make it a little lighter. Not that light. Yeah, that's fine. We'll leave that. Okay. Sorry guys, my throat's getting a little dry from talking so much. I don't usually talk this much in videos. Okay. Alright, let's do the next side of the buildings. Shall we? Let's move into this. And let's give this... Ooh, this is going to be interesting, because our light's coming from this source. So this is going to be pretty dark, actually. So we're going to come in here, and again, we do everything on a separate layer, if possible. We'll do everything on a separate layer. Because the light's striking it so harshly, it's going to be definitely a little darker. Not super dark, but darker. Like, let's say if we do that. Yeah, basically like that. But maybe we can make it a little lighter. Because that's a pretty dark shadow coming in. But it does give you a lot to look at, which is nice. And don't worry, we're going to be taking out a lot of stuff, so don't worry too much. Like when it comes to the shadows in there, again, we'll just do the same thing we did before, and we'll do that. We can take away some of that and make it a little more interesting. Because it's not going to be completely pitch black in there. But yeah, we're going to do the same thing, guys. We're going to come in. Hang on. I lost my spot. Okay, we're going to take the shadow out. We're going to come into the sign again. And we're going to do the same thing. We're going to go under it this time. See that? Pretty simple, huh? Pretty simple. Anybody could do it. Don't have to be a genius. Okay, there we go. Almost. Yep. This will probably sound a lot more interesting with music in the background, huh? Right now, I have no idea how it sounds. It's just me talking in a room, which is kind of weird. Oh, hang on. See, that's not right. See that? That little thing right there. That's not right. Take this out. Take that out. Okay. That should do it. Let's see how that looks. Too dark. That's not bad. We'll leave it at that. Okay. Now, we will come in here. And remember, since it's all different surfaces, we have to think different surfaces. See that? Some surfaces are going to be a little darker than others. So this one's going to be a little lighter because it's more exposed. See that? And we'll make it so you can feel there's a light source coming from there. Now when we go to the bottom, obviously, we're going to have a little bit of a darker shadow. So check this out. Technically, we could come in all over this with just the general shadow layer, but that's kind of boring. We want to get as much as we can because that shadow layer is a rough layer. And and it doesn't represent the complete piece, because after we do the shadow layer, we're gonna need to add textures too, to make sure everything feels nitty and gritty. Let me know when this video is getting too boring for you. I'll try to do a funny trick or something. See that? Yeah, and maybe it gets a little more lighter down there. Who knows? But you can make it, yeah, see, it's a little darker now. It makes a difference. It definitely makes a difference. And same thing down here. We're gonna make a little shadow coming down here. And overall, it's just gonna be shaded. See that? So check it out. This side's gonna be very dark because there's gonna be light coming through. And we're not focusing on that anyways, we're actually focusing on that. Maybe we can make that a little darker. Yeah, that works fine. Maybe, yeah, that's fine. Sorry guys, just tweaking a few things just to make sure it feels good. But I mean, you can see, right? Everything we did is making a really big difference. And when you take out that shading, it's like, oh, it's kind of boring. But then when you add the shading in, you're like, holy crap, look at that. You know, it's really starting to pop. Things are really starting to come out a little more, especially when you look at it from a distance. It's like, oh, it's all right. It's not bad. But then like, wow, you know, that's actually starting to come alive. And again, like some of the shadows here are a little too dark. We'll correct that as we go. But overall, this is good. Like, this is already pretty good, so you don't need to worry. And just so we don't confuse ourselves, we'll leave that on. I think we'll finish this tutorial with this at the moment, and when we come back later, I'll have more done for you guys. I'll have much more done for you guys. This usually does, if you're trying to be really good at this, if you're really taking your time, it can take quite a while. So you just wanna, but for backgrounds, you especially want to take your time because they usually have to look more realistic than your characters. It's just a kind of general rule of thumb. It just makes it a lot nicer. Come in here. I hope this is a separate layer. And same thing here. See that? Oops, not that. No. Yeah, that's decent. Subtlety is key. Let's do another one. And we'll come in here. This side should be very dark. Very, very dark. There we go. Alright. That's fine. That's good. Oops. That's good. Maybe. No, that wouldn't make sense, because we have light coming from here. Alright. Okie dokie, okie dokie. Okie dokie, okie pokey. Oh, we gotta do that sign. Forgot about that sign. And we gotta do the poles. So let's finish this up with that. Again, it's much simpler than it seems. And we didn't waste very much time, you know, because overall it's gonna make such a big difference when you actually have all of this kind of gridded out. You're gonna find it makes it so much easier down the line. Because you don't have to worry about anything like, you know, looking bad, because it's gonna look pretty good, actually. And don't worry, we'll add some clouds in the sky later, and we can make the sky a little darker, just to make sure things are a little more interesting, right? Maybe we wanna, or we could do an adjustment layer. I'll show you how to do an adjustment layer. Go layer, new adjustment layer, and let's go to levels. Go to OK. Hold Alt, and you can go between here, see that? And you can bring it together. Let's see if we can darken a little bit. See that? Our sky's getting a little darker, but that's okay, it's a blue sky. And let's see. Yeah, so we can make a little bit more. Yeah, see that? There we go. That's pretty good right there. Yeah, that's good. We'll leave it at that. Glad I did that. Alright. Let's move on. We're almost done with our general shading. We do have to do the items up front, though, just to let you know. That's really important. We have to do these items up front. But right now, the biggest concern is to just make sure we get these buildings first. Because these buildings are what we're going to be primarily looking at. Let's go under the sign. Add new layer. Okay. Yep, same thing. And subtract what you don't need. And add what you do need. See that? There you go. Yeah, that's coming together nicely. That's coming together nicely. Okay. Cool. All right. And just, yeah, that's decent. There we go. Now let's come in. And yeah, that looks pretty good. Now let's move under the sign. Remember, we're thinking layers here. Think layers, think layers. And we'll come in. Let's see, do we have that right? I think we do. Yeah, we should have that right. Maybe we should be careful though. It might be a different building. So let's come this way and then move up and see if that works. Yeah. Okay, so it is a different building. Okay, no problem. Just be careful, guys. And even if you make a mistake, it's okay. You're gonna make mistakes, no matter what. Heck, I make mistakes every freaking day. There we go. We got more of a contrast going on there. Maybe not too much. That's a little too much still. There we go. That's better. Okay. And we'll come in next. The next one. Come in here. And this is going to make our shadow layer so much easier to do, by the way, because we won't have to worry as much when it comes to shadowing. We'll have like everything we need set up. And just so we get this right, there we go. And we'll come in again. Might be a little dark. There we go. That's good. And now we can come into our little billboard over here. And we're gonna make this very light. We're gonna make it very light. Because we don't want this to grab attention in the distance. You'll see what I mean. So very light. Because remember, it's gonna fade. The more we go down, it's gonna fade. It's just how your vision works. Don't ask me why. There probably is a very good scientific reason why, but I won't go into it. Okay, let's make sure we get the pole right. Alright. Come in. It's okay to be a little off. We're gonna come over this anyways. Okay. Yep. That's pretty much all set. Yeah, let's get this in. See that? Okay. Cool. Now let's go in. And you know what? Because there's gonna be light down here, we're gonna make it as subtle as we can because it's a pole, so make it very, very subtle. There we go. That's good. I forgot to do the poles in front. Oh boy. Looks okay. We gotta do this first anyways. Now let's put a layer over it. Let's do the bridge here. You might not notice, but this is a bridge. I should have said that before. Alright. There we go. And we'll do the bridge. And remember, there's light coming from both sides, so let's try something a little different. Let's see if this works. Ooh, that does not work. It's okay. That's the whole point of experimenting. But that's pretty good. That's pretty decent. Right? Yeah. Oops. Sorry. That's pretty decent. Your normal bridge would be something along that line, but let's make it a little lighter. Maybe a little lighter than that. There we go. Subtlety is key. That's why we zoom out, just so we know, like, oh, it does look pretty good, you know? It doesn't look terrible. Because sometimes it does. Alright, and let's get this. Alright, and we'll get that building in the background. Again, make it a little lighter, because we're fading into the background. Or maybe not. Maybe you want the signpost to stand out. And that's okay too. You can do that too. So for these buildings, we're gonna leave them... We're gonna leave this front side. Nah, you know what? Let's do it. Let's get all of that in before we forget. We'll get both the buildings. Don't worry. It'll make it a little simpler. And plus, they're not very important buildings, so you don't have to worry too much. But we will make it a little more subtle. There we go. There we go. Let's make it a little more subtle. There we go. No. It needs a little more. Maybe a little more. There we go. There we go. Better. Much better. You can see it's starting to naturally fade, right? Next we go in here, because there's a building part here. Kind of moves downwards. And we'll do the same thing. We'll make this one a little darker, because it's on this side. And that should work just fine. Maybe a little lighter. Yeah, that's perfect. Okay. Now let's move to our poles. Finally, right? Alright. You can see it's really starting to come together, right? This is like really starting to feel more and more alive. And we haven't gone to any textures yet. We haven't gone to any super specific details like putting in these windows or anything. But overall, you gotta worry about the overall. The overall is what matters. And overall, it's looking pretty good. But it could be better, and we're gonna make it better. Let's see. On that note, where am I? Oh, I'm on the pole. I'm on the telephone poles. Right. I didn't forget. Alright. That's okay, we can come in over. And we'll move in there. Sorry if my head ducked down for a second. I gotta see what I'm doing. And if you want to zoom in and out, just press Control plus or Control minus. Very simple. Super simple. And because there's light coming in from here, we're going to do it a little differently. Yeah, we'll make it very dark from bottom. See that? There. But maybe there's a little bit of light coming in. See that? Yeah, that's fine. Leave it. Oh, and we missed something here. See that? We missed our area right here. We gotta do a little bit of shading there. But don't worry, we will do it. So let's move in. Let's move in here. And let's give it a little bit. And it makes sense why this needs the shading, because this is the part of the darkest. This is the darkest part of that building over there. It's on the side. Or maybe not. Maybe it's not on the side. Maybe it's this building. Yeah, it's probably this building. That's what it is. I know what I'm doing. For the most part. Okay. Let's make it settle. That's good. That's good. And let's see. Let's go back to our pole. I don't like how that's not going entirely over the entire thing. So let's be more accurate. All right? It's good to be accurate. Okay, here we go. And don't worry, guys, we're almost done with this stage. We are almost done with this stage. There we go. And there we go. All right, that's a little better. And let's go in. Remember, zoom out so you can get a good holistic viewpoint of everything. And that's pretty decent. Maybe a little more? Too dark. Let's try that. Let's keep experimenting. It depends on your angle too. Remember, it also depends on your angle. And don't worry about that shadow layer I did. Well, that comes much later. There we go. See, so it feels like there's light coming down here, right? So we're gonna do it like that. And now, let's do that last telephone pole. Alright. Oops, sorry. Gotta be accurate, gotta be accurate. Alright. You can always come and correct it later, though. That's a nice thing. That's the great thing about the lasso tool. You can always come back and correct it later. Just be careful, because once you lay down your gradient tool, it's going to be hard. Once you lay down the gradient, it's going to be hard to correct it. So make sure you have your gradient the way you want it. That's why you see me doing the pulls and swipes a lot, because I'm trying to figure out how it's going to look from a distance, and how the light's going to hit it, and how it's going to cast shadows, and how the overall tone of the building is going to feel. This is exciting too, because once we have this in, and we put textures in, and overall shadowing in, it's really going to start feeling like it's alive. Like this ground doesn't even have any texture at the moment. But it will. And it's going to be amazing. And yeah, that's fine. It can fade. Oops. Yeah, that's good. Maybe a little more. There we go. Yeah, because we're going to have some shadow here, so I wouldn't worry too. Yeah, let's do a little more. See what I mean, right? We do it on purpose. Yeah, it's fine. We'll leave it. Just, let's try it. One more time. Is that a little better? Nah. Because remember, there's light coming through here. That will work just fine, because we can always correct it. Yeah, that's good. That's good. Leave that. Now we'll come in here, and because this is kind of close to the light, let's try not to make it too dark. You know, let's try to make it just dark as it needs to be. So let's try not to make it too dark, because otherwise it's going to pull attention away from here. So let's make it kind of subtle. There we go, that's fine. It's about the same value as this one anyways. We don't want to pull attention away from what we're doing over there, but it's okay. If we do, we'll find a way to bring attention back to it. It's not bad. Zoom in, zoom out. That way you get a good viewpoint of everything. Alright, and here we go. We'll probably end it off here, because this video has gone on for a little too long for my liking. And I know everyone's attention spans are not the greatest these days. It's okay. I'm not one to judge. Mine has gone down a little bit too, even though it shouldn't. But what are you gonna do? And that's fine. That's good. So when we come in with that general shadow tone, just remember, this is rough. This is a rough shadow. See how much better it feels? And if I do a couple corrections, maybe on top here, or here, see that? Because it's maybe there's a little more coming in. Yeah, see that? See that? And suddenly there's more interest now, right? Suddenly there's a much more realistic feel to everything. Not too much. Just do a little bit. not too much. But that's basically what you're aiming for, right? You want to know that there's a light source coming down. See that? And it can be a little more dramatic like that, and that's fine. Because, you know what? It's gonna draw the audience a little more in. Yeah, see that? Yeah, and that's basically what we're going for at the end product. But we don't have to worry about that right now. But with that, I hope you guys found this video interesting, and I'll see you next time. And when I show you this background next time, it's going to be a little more complete. So, see you then.